So this will be true for each of our candidates tonight. You'll have the opportunity to provide a 1-minute opening statement. Each question you will have 1 minute to respond, and then also the opportunity to provide a 1-minute closing statement as well. So Luis, whenever you are ready, if you'd like to begin with a 1-minute opening statement, you are welcome to do so.
Thank you. I am Vice President of that board. I'm completing my 10th year. I serve on the Chamber of Commerce as well, and I've been serving on the Chamber of Commerce not just for the last month, I've been serving on the Chamber of Commerce for a number of years. In addition to that, I have the good fortune of serving on the Transitional Homeless Shelter in Upland. It is a regional homeless shelter, and I've been serving on that shelter for a couple of years now. It's called Foothill Family Shelter. What we do is we help families with children get back on their feet, which is a critical issue that needs to be addressed in our county. I am running for county board supervisors because I surely believe that I have the skill sets necessary to help this county move on to the next level. The county is lacking economic development, and I think the city of Rancho Cucamonga is one of the critical parts of that effort, so that's why I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Luis. You can clap. So Luis, your first question. Measure K was passed by county voters by 66% in 2020. This measure limits county supervisor to 1 4-year term and reduces their pay to $60,000 per year. The current supervisors challenged Measure K in court. Was it right for the supervisors to act contrary to what the voters approved? And do you support Measure K?
Thank you. First and foremost, let me say for the record, I was opposed to Measure K. One single 4-year term is just not something that's a benefit for our county, on the record. But I decided to run regardless. I filed to run for county board supervisor in February of 2021. And I stand here before you today convicted with that same conviction and commitment to serve. I think the voters have spoken. I made my point quite clear. And I will be voting. Well, I really haven't made up my mind because I'm a little concerned about a second component that I found out about the new measure, and I have to confirm it. I was told that it has a restart. And if I realize that it has a restart, meaning that you can serve an additional 3 years, I will reconsider my vote in that effort. But the voters have spoken, and this is why I decided to run regardless. I want to serve. I'm ready to serve. And you need someone who can serve from day one. And I believe I have the skill sets to do that.
Great, thank you. What can our county do to bring more Fortune 500 companies or corporate headquarters to our area?
There's a series of things that our county can do. First and foremost, it needs to put forth a really dedicated pro-business culture. The county is going to embark on reevaluating its economic development effort. One of the key things that major corporations need is an assurance of a reliable utility, gas, water, and power. We just don't have that. Why? Because we depend on the state of California for that. We're the largest geographical county in the United States, vast open resources. We have the capability to realize a balanced portfolio approach to reliable utility. If we put these things together, then the corporations will consider coming here, anchoring here. You have major corporations, you have mid-sized corporations. If you have mid-sized corporations, you will have storefront. Storefront corporations and companies, small businesses, the backbone of America, are needed in communities for safety, for tax revenue, and for quality of life. That's what I want to do. I want to put forth a new plan for this entire county, along with the whole other supervisors.
Thank you. And final question we will ask. The logistics industry is one of the area's largest industries, yet there is concern about the development of warehouses and their impact on communities and the environment. How would you balance these interests?
For the logistics industry, there's a reason why Rancho Cucamonga was not sued by the Attorney General of the state, because it was done right. That's first and foremost. There's a bunch of lemons out there, but I intend to make lemonade out of it. The logistic industry needs an opportunity for our young people to work in logistics in terms of robotics. We need to look at our universities and our junior colleges that are teaching robotics so that robotics are being done here. They do provide work, but they have to be done in a smart way. I think there's an opportunity to work with them, but some of the issues that they've caused have to be addressed. There are communities that need to be helped with regards to certain impacts, and I'm ready and prepared to ask for those assistance efforts. I actually think that logistics is moving on to Beaumont high desert areas. Also, because of the setbacks being put in that lawsuit by the state attorney general. I think leadership should have the hindsight to make decisions to avoid these type of problems. We have made great decisions at the Cucamonga Valley Water District for a long-term benefit, and you'll get that same from me as a supervisor on board.
Thank you, Luis. And because you stuck with 1 minute each, I'm going to give you one additional question. There are many good paying jobs that do not require a college degree, but we don't seem to have enough skilled workers to fill those jobs. How can we address that?
I think we need to look at the trades, the vocational trades. I have a brother who's a BMW mechanic, and he makes a good living. Not everybody's cut out for college. It's just a way of thought process. My father was a maintenance man, and he took care of a family of 7. He did a great job. His work ethic was tremendous, and we learned from that. I think we need to push the trades in our community, and we need to do it in our schools. Take it to our high schools. A lot of people frown on that. I don't. I think every kid deserves a chance, and we need to have those discussions because our economy needs it. If we're going to attract businesses to our region, they also need to know that the workforce is capable, and not just doctors and attorneys. They need electricians, they need carpenters, they need nurses, doctors. These type of people are needed in our community, home care workers and so forth and so on. And so that's something that I'm going to bring to the table to talk about. We have got to get ready for the future for our region. Otherwise, the future is going to be difficult to meet.
Great. If you'd like to close with a 1 minute closing statement.
Well, I want to thank you all for this opportunity. I want to ask you all to consider my candidacy. Why? Because like I said before, I made a commitment to do this more than 20 months ago, and it's not by myself, it's with my wife. We'd be doing this without her consent. And we've been doing this, and the community has been responding. It is amazing to be able to look at contributions from the community, $50, $100. We reached 800 contributions already, 800. And so this is a campaign of true community interests. The results of the primary proved it. They were saying we're going to come in 4th place. We came in 1st. It's no longer my campaign. It's no longer my wife's campaign. It's the community's campaign. And I'll point this out. This is about all 3 cities in the unincorporated community of San Antonio Heights moving collectively together. As your supervisor, I will look out for the best interests of the entire region. It's not about one city versus the other. We have got to come together and unite as a county and as a region. And that's what I will do. Thank you for the opportunity.
We have 2 candidates for the Cucamonga Valley Water District. Can I confirm that we do not have any candidates in the room tonight? No. Okay, confirmation there. So we're going to move on, I believe, is Rita Loof. Rita? Come on up. Rita is the incumbent on the San Bernardino County Board of Education, Area B. So Rita, you have, for those candidates who are running, I believe, uncontested, is that correct? Are you contested or uncontested?
I am contested.
You are contested?
I have 2 opponents.
Okay, well you get the advantage tonight. You get a 2.5 minute statement. So you will just be speaking, there'll be no questions to Rita, but just she has 2.5 minutes to share her remarks.
Thank you.
She has 2.5 minutes to share her remarks.
Thank you so much. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to speak today, and thank you to Flora, who very kindly coordinated this in a very expeditious manner. My name is Rita Fernandez Loof, and I'm running for the San Bernardino County Board of Education, Area B. And Area B includes the communities of Rancho Cucamonga, Upland, Ontario, Montclair, and Mount Baldy. I have 494,000 residents in my area. I am a parent. I've been on the board since 2018 when I unseated an incumbent. And the reason I originally ran is because I noticed that the parent voice was lacking. And education is extremely important to me. I've homeschooled my children because I didn't feel that my district in Upland had enough services, and I did not feel comfortable with the education they were providing, but I remained involved. Why did I remain involved? Because I am originally from Cuba. I came from Cuba when I was in the 8th grade. I spoke no English whatsoever. And I've appreciated all the opportunities that this country has given me. And the reason my parents came from Cuba and brought me and were separated for 5 years because the Cuban government did not let my dad leave the country at the time, is because they did not want the government to have custody of their children. And I saw the themes of how the schools were really infringing on parents' rights. And I did not want this country to follow in the way of Cuba. I wanted to preserve the freedoms that we hold dear in this country. And that's why I decided to get involved, even though I pulled my kids out of the public school system because I just could not sacrifice them at the altar of public education. And I've dealt with the special education system for many, many years, and I've seen the inordinate amount of litigation that are spent on lawyers rather than services for the children. So I'm an advocate for children, and I'm an advocate for parents. So I urge your vote. Again, Rita Fernandez-Luz, San Bernardino County Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going
Education. Thank you.
we thank Rita. We are now going to move into the city council races, and we'll begin with current city councilman Ryan Hutchinson. If you'd like to come up, Ryan. And
good evening, everyone. My name is Ryan Hutchison, and I'm a city council member in Rancho Cucamonga's 3rd District. It is absolutely an honor of my lifetime to be able to represent this fantastic city. My district runs from Haven Avenue on the west over to Etowanda on the east, from the 210 freeway on the north to Foothill Boulevard on the south. So it kind of includes the communities of Terra Vista, the Victoria Gardens Mall, Rancho Cucamonga, and before our last redistricting process, it also included Central Park core sitting. But due to redistricting, it now sits in Mayor Pro Tem Lynn Kennedy's council district. And I'm incredibly proud of the efforts and the success that we've had over the first 3.5 years in my term, 4 years almost now. But I'll tell you what, I was elected and took my seat at the very end of 2018. My first full year was 2019, and there was certainly no playbook given to us for coronavirus in 2020. So that absolutely dominated the vast majority of my first term in office. And coming up with solutions for that and questions and challenges that I never even considered certainly helped me grow as a person and helped me to develop some very critical skills that made me ultimately a much better council member, no matter how much sweat it caused and how many late nights that it kept me up. Some of the things that I'm most excited about that we've accomplished in my first term is we have the very first groundbreaking development at Central Park in over a decade. If you look over to the west where we're sitting right now out on Baseline, you'll see that we are building our very first a dog park development in Central Park. And that was able to be completed with a $3 million grant that we received from the state of California. One thing that people were very specific about when I was door knocking in my first election was, we want to see Central Park finished, but we do not want to have to come out of our pockets with additional money to see it paid for. So realizing that grant money coming from the state of California and having that project break ground is an incredible accomplishment, and I'm really excited to see people use that in the beginning of next year. A second, I'll talk really quick. Our ATMS project, our Advanced Traffic Management project, just finished our first phase on Haven Avenue, and now people are moving north and south on Haven Avenue 50% faster with less congestion, and we look forward to coordinating with a lot more synchronizing traffic signals in the future and a lot more exciting things. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Thanks for coming out tonight. Thanks for being engaged. We'll see you later.
I don't believe that Mayor Michael is here just yet, so we'll wait for him. When he arrives, he'll have the opportunity to provide his remarks as well. But at this point, I would like to welcome up the City Council District 2 candidates. And this is where it gets fun, because we have more than one person up here. So. Great, so I want to welcome you both to the platform, and we'll begin with a 1-minute opening statement if you would like to start. David, we'll have you go first, followed by Christine, and then the first question I will throw to Christine first, and we'll alternate as we offer the questions. David.
Very good.
Years ago from the city of Glendale after 28 years of service. I got into this race because I feel that the city, the crime is out of control. I personally was over at the Home Depot the other day when they had the shooting. I'm also a father of 4 kids, and I have 5 grandkids. I'd like to serve the city, be a liaison between the Sheriff's Department and City Council and the citizens here in the city. With that in mind, like I said, I believe that there needs to be more representation, there needs to be fresh eyes, and new ideas on the City Council.
Thank you, David. And now, Christine, your 1-minute opening remarks.
Thank you, Greg. Good evening, everyone. I am Christine Scott, and I'm council member here for District 2. I'm just wrapping up my first term, I should say, on the City Council, being first elected in 2018. It's been an honor and a privilege to be part of the City Council for the last 4 years. We have had some challenges, but it's also been just a real honor to be able to be part of a team, Team RC, that is building and continuing to build a world-class community. We've been part of a city that just recently won an award for one of the best places in the United States to raise a family. #1 in the Inland Empire, #5 in SoCal. And just this week, we were named number 64 in the nation for one of the safest cities in America. So I'm proud to be part of this team and proud to provide a high quality of life for the residents of Rancho Cucamonga. And I look forward to continue serving you. Thank you.
So Christine, I'll ask you the first question, and then David, you can respond after that. It's estimated that half of the city's workforce commute outside of the area for work. What can be done to improve that so that more people can work locally?
Thank you for the question. So that's one of our top priorities as building a world-class community, is making sure we have a high-quality workforce, and that's something we've been focusing on. We see opportunities like the Brightline West, the high-speed rail that's coming to Rancho Cucamonga. It's also attracting potential Fortune 100 companies have expressed interest in building satellite offices here along the Pena Corridor and other parts of the city. Part of that, building that high-quality workforce, is working with our workforce development and working with our local schools and working with our unions. I have the proud endorsement of the Southwest Carpenters and other unions to bring that high-quality workforce. Serving on the San Bernardino County Workforce Investment Board for many years, working with schools, working with the trades to bring those quality developments, and also building on our infrastructure, keeping a safe community, building the roads, keeping them safe. That attracts development, that attracts jobs, and that attracts those high-fortune companies that are coming here in Rancho Cucamonga.
Thank you, Christine. Same question, David.
We need to work on our infrastructure, we need to work on our roads, we need to be a smaller government. We need to attract these businesses here by being a smaller government, less involved. Let them do what they need to do. Also, our infrastructure, our electrical, our water, all need to be up to the ability and up to par for their businesses. What I would suggest is also that we build on our police force. Our police force here they don't have enough people. They don't have enough people. I've had very long talks with the chief, and at any one time, there's 8 law enforcement officers in our city that are out there enforcing the laws. For a city our size of 175 people, that's just not enough. That attracts businesses, that attracts the larger businesses.
Thank you, David. This next question, David, you'll be first, and then followed by Christine. How can we address the increase of homelessness in our city and the area and the problems that follow?
The way we can address it is there is what's called a homeless court currently at our courthouse. Rancho Cucamonga does not participate in that. And what happens is, say one of our deputies arrests somebody for drunk in public. They're taken to that homeless court, given a ticket, they're gone, they go to that homeless court, and then they're given the option. Either you can pay a fine, you can serve time in jail, or you can go to AA. Okay, if they go to AA and they complete their classes, then they are expunged from the record. We can also put social workers, we can also put counselors with the deputies. They can go around. Social workers can do a lot more than the deputies can. They can provide housing, they can provide services, they can hook them up with meds, doctors, and we can get them off the street.
Thank you, David. Christine, same question.
Thank you. So unfortunately, we see homeless continues to increase not only in Rancho Cucamonga, but throughout Southern California as well, throughout the state. With our adoption of our budget, we were able to add 2 more solution-oriented police, which is also the acronym SOP, assigned to our city's homeless task force. In addition to that, we are also part of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's HOPE program, which is the Homeless Outreach and Protection Enhancement Program, which basically works with our transits who are homeless to give them the transitional housing they need, the services they need, the mental health issues that they need. We also have a component of Health ERC that we're focusing on mental health issues that help address that problem. Again, it's not just a Rancho problem. We've seen an increase in homelessness everywhere, and that's why we've committed to add more funding to the budget to enhance more officers to address that issue.
Thank you, Christine. So the third question, Christine, this one will start with you. Certain nearby cities have allowed cannabis retail operations or are actively considering doing so. Should Rancho Cucamonga allow cannabis businesses as an additional source of revenue?
No. No, we get that all the time. I get so many, in fact, if you've been watching our city council meetings lately, we do have advocates coming to public comment and saying this information to promote cannabis. They say it's going to help increase raises or funds for our city. We are a fiscally conservative city. We have a balanced budget. We don't need to rely on that sort of business for our city. In my opinion, I think that attracts a different kind of clientele that we would want in our city. Therefore, we're focusing on bringing other kinds of developments, such as the high-speed rail and other high-quality jobs, so we don't have to rely on that.
David, same question.
And I am also absolutely no. My experience over the 28 years, cannabis, they say it's not a gateway drug. It is. It is. It affects people mentally. It affects their ability to work, be productive. And it does attract the type of people that we do not want in this city. The fact that they legalized marijuana in California, or legalized it, it's there's been a surge in DUI marijuana, and we don't want that here in our city. It's something that it's just a gateway drug. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you both. Since we're doing well on time, I'll give you one additional question. So David, this will be for you. Are development fees charged by the city fair, and what would you change and why?
Development fees that we charge, I believe are fair. I believe are fair. What I would do is I would possibly add to those fees slightly to hire more deputies. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but we need to get more deputies out into the community. I personally came from a department where there was 175,000 people in Glendale. At any one time, we'd have 18 officers in the field, minimum. Here, they have 8. I don't know how they do it. I plan as a councilman, go out, ride with these deputies, see what they're doing, make suggestions, maybe make changes. As far as fees, I would not be opposed to seeing the fees, some of them go towards that.
Thank you, David. Christine, same question.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, I do agree that I believe the development fees are fair. We work with before we impose or even contemplate putting on any development fees, we work with the industry, we work with the building association and other trades and other developments, and work with them and present them the fees, and we want to work together because we don't want to add too many fees where it's going to increase the cost of housing than it already is. So we want to work and be balanced and be fair, because those fees do go towards the general fund. They do help our streets, they do help our parks, they do help us with our budget for public safety to hire those officers. So I think we're fair, I think we're really thought about it. Cost of living is increasing, so we do make adjustments on that every year just to keep the cost, but those fees have maintained. And again, we work with industry, and we hear from them if they're not happy, but we want to be fair and reasonable and want to be a business-friendly community.
Thank you. You both have the chance to make a 1-minute closing statement, and Christine, we'll start with you this time.
Thanks, Greg. Again, thank you everyone for the opportunity to serve you and hopefully continue serving you. Like I said, I've been on the council 4 years, been involved in the community a lot longer than that, having been the president of the Library Foundation, raising millions of money for our libraries, keeping those libraries open during COVID. I have the opportunity to serve a lot of business organizations, currently the chair of the Greater Ontario Business Council, which is the equivalent of their chamber. In addition, I continue to serve on the Sheriff's Information Exchange Committee, as well as other business committees. I have the knowledge, I have the relationships, and I have what it takes to continue serving our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Christine. David.
And I would also thank you for letting me speak today. I see that Rancho is starting to slip a little bit as far as the law enforcement and the crime. We recently had a 500% spike in crimes, in the murders. We had a 183% spike in assaults, and we had a 125% spike in the last 4 years in arsons. I plan on being a liaison with the Sheriff's Department. I currently work for the Sheriff's Department out at the Academy in their training section. I plan on making suggestions and maybe even recommendations and in enforcing them. We need more officers. We need more presence. We need to get specialized units in here, SED, Special Enforcement Detail with the Sheriff's Department, and have them target areas where we're having daytime burglaries, catalytic converter thefts. Thank you very much.
Our District 2 candidates. Next, I'd like to welcome up our City Council District 1 candidates, if you'd like to take your places. Okay, thank you all for being with us. Again, this is City Council District 1 candidates. Of course, we have 6 candidates with us tonight, and so we will begin on my side of the table, starting with Floyd and working our way down. And then the first question will begin on the other side of the table, and we'll work our way back down this direction. So you each have the opportunity to provide a 1-minute opening statement. And so, Floyd, if you begin, thank you.
Okay. And first, I want to start and just say I'm tremendously pleased to be here. In particular, the Chamber. I really want to recognize them in putting this on. And I don't know who in the Chamber came up with the David Dreyer room as the place, but this is a very special place to me. It is because David Dreyer did me the honor of nominating, and if you know, Congressman only get 2 nominations for the military academies per year, and he nominated my son for West Point Military Academy. My son graduated in 2016, so that's how I first became a part of this community, and it's really special to me, so thank you.
Thank you. Rose.
Yes. Well, good evening, everyone. I've been chomping at the bit, taking deep breaths, and it's my turn. I'm Rose Stevens Olmsted. That's how I'm going to be seen on the ballot. I'm number 2 on the ballot. I've lived in this area of Upland and Rancho Cucamonga over 30 years, so I've seen this city grow immensely. I was at one of the first meetings where the city installed the first administrator, manager, Mr. Lamb. At the time, my husband and his partner were in a planning and zoning business, and my husband had been on the planning commission in the city, and I worked alongside them in the business. And I have experience in the political arena. I was my husband's campaign manager for state assembly, and stop.
Thank you, Rose. Next, Mary.
Oh, hi. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I just want to thank the Chamber for providing this forum for us just to, introduce ourselves. to the districts. And like, as you know, my name is Mary Hannah, and I'm running for District 1. And I've been here for quite some time in the city. My kids grew here in the city. They went to school here in the city, and now they're both in college. I'm a businesswoman, and I have my doctorate degree in law, and I think I can do the work involved that's necessary. My concerns about the city lately are the catalytic converter thefts, the mail thefts, the shootings, and the store thefts. And I just want to preserve the city so it's a nice place for everyone to move here, work here, and just prosper. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And I have to confess, I can't read the name cards beyond Mary, so I don't know your name. So if the next three of you would introduce yourselves, thank you. That's very helpful. That's terrific. Thank you. Ashley.
Thank you. First, I would like to thank the Commerce for having us and hosting this forum for us. I am an Alsaloma native. I grew up in this town. I am a wife, a mother. I also am a business owner. There are so many things that I am proud about of our city, and I am asked the question a lot of why am I running for city council, not necessarily in that tone, but it is something that I am honored and privileged to do. I love the people in our community and those that make up our community, and it would be a true honor and privilege to serve them, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ashley. Eric.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Eric Jimenez. I am also a lifelong resident of Rancho Cucamonga, over 30-something years. I'm a graduate from the University of Redlands School of Business and Society with a degree in business management. I am also the proud owner of Jimenez Ground, a company that contracts with FedEx Express, based here at Rancho Cucamonga. I've been active in city politics for almost 20 years. If you recognize me, I did a grant for city council about 10 years ago. I know that replacing Sam Spagnolo is going to be some big shoes to fill, but I believe that I am the right person to do so. I am very invested in the community. I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I want my daughter to grow up in the same city that I was raised in, a beautiful, prosperous Rancho Cucamonga, and that's what I'm here. I'm here for the business community. I'm here for the working families, and most of all, I'm here for my daughter so she can have the same city I was raised in.
Great, thank you, Eric. Now, Lawrence.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to talk about my experience, dedication, and service. I have 35 years as a professional planner in California. 24 of those were with Rancho Cucamonga. I retired from Rancho Cucamonga just 10 years ago. So I worked on almost every general plan that we've had. I'm one of the few people who actually read those general plans from cover to cover. I'm proud of that. Anyway, I'm dedicated to this city, probably more than anybody else that I know, because most 24 years with the city were improving to improve this city. I volunteered in a number of organizations in this city, and for 27 years, I'm very humble in the fact that I was with San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department as a volunteer. And in terms of service, the city was built on a philosophy that put the concerns of the community first and foremost. As a 33-year resident, that philosophy has given me a sense of pride in this place, and I'm happy to call Rancho Cucamonga home.
Thank you, Lawrence. Can we give them all a round of applause? So I'll ask the first question, and we'll remind you that these were chosen in advance. No one is aware. We didn't know what order the candidates would be in, but Lawrence, I think you'll like the first question, and this is going to you first. The city recently adopted a new general plan.
Oh, yes.
Did you participate in the process, and what are the strengths and weaknesses of the plan?
No, I did not participate in the planning sessions this time around. I did a couple years ago when they were in person. When it comes to the general plan, the city of Rancho Cucamonga is very lucky because we started from scratch. We incorporated about 40 years ago, which is fairly new for a lot of cities. So we're lucky enough that we have a general plan, and it's a very well-planned city. If you ever drive through our city, it's actually a very nice community compared to our neighbors, and that's because we started from scratch. And honestly, props to people like Larry, who for years and years did work together to make this happen. One thing that I am concerned about is some of the development and encroachment up in the foothills. I wish the general plan would have addressed that a little bit more. I am afraid of, every fire season for those communities. And I wish that when we reverse that we can do a better job planning for those flooded communities. And that's about my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Ashley, same question.
No, I was not part of that plan or building that plan. I do absolutely support that plan though, and I love that our city has a vision of what we are going after. Being a world-class city, there's a lot of man hours behind that, and you see that represented in our plan. I do absolutely support growth because I think it's extremely important to any city to thrive. Without growth, we would perish. So I like that their growth is steadily, it's expanded. It's over time. It's not just an overnight type of thing, but it's something that they really took the time to lay out with a step-by-step program.
Thank you, Ashley. Mary.
Hello, I did not participate in that plan either. It was during COVID. And I think everyone had a lot of concerns, and the city council is doing its job, so that's good. But I do like the equestrian overlay, and I think that it's such a character and nature of that part of Rancho that I really feel like they need to preserve that as much as possible. Because whenever I tell when someone says, "Oh, where are you from?" and I say, "Oh, I'm from Rancho Cucamonga." "Oh, yes, those large properties and trails and things like that." So I think that's the identification thing that everyone has still to this day about that. I hope that they don't build in the foothills because we had to be evacuated because of fire in 2003, I think. And it was my son's birthday. And so thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary. Rose.
Yes, I was not a part of that either, but I'm not shy about embracing all that I can learn about it and any future plans.
Thank you, Rose. Floyd.
Okay. As a retired fire chief, I have worked on general plans in the past. I've looked at briefly, because it's a big one, the one here at Rancho Cucamonga, and I think they did an excellent job of considering all elements of that plan. And I think that's the key to it, is making sure that you consider all aspects of providing service, as well as the business considerations and everything else. And again, I think the city did an excellent job. It's something that gives us a roadmap to the future, and my expectation is that it will serve this community well. Thank you.
Thank you, Floyd. The next question will begin on this end of the table, so Floyd, you'll have the first chance to respond. Many retail stores in our city have experienced smash and grab robberies or property damage. What would be your plan to address this?
Well, I'll sort of quote you on what the police chief, I had a question for him, and his response was pretty much, some people focus on one particular crime or another, but again, that police chief has access to data and information and everything else, and he assured me that they are doing everything they can to understand the situation here in Rancho Cucamonga, and they are devising plans. I'm not an expert in that area. I think we have to have faith in the people that have that responsibility. And again, I think the police chief is doing a good job, and this community, as he stated, is safe overall. So that's my answer.
Thank you, Floyd. Same question, Rose.
It's true, police chief does have perhaps the last word. But as for me, zero tolerance for this type of behavior. I get very angry, and when I saw this happening on TV in various places, zero tolerance. You do the crime, you do the time.
Thank you, Rose. Mary.
I'm really disheartened by all of the crime that's been in the city lately. I moved here because it was one of the 3 safest cities in America. And now I feel like it's one of the top 3 crime-spree cities in America. Just recently, it seems like everyone's just gone crazy with the catalytic converter, sawing them off from underneath the car, the mail theft, everywhere, the shootings, The store thefts, you just see people running out of stores bundled with a bunch of things, just running because they don't know what's gonna stop them. I feel we need more police force. 1 or 2 police men or women in one area is just not enough, not with what's going on now. Hopefully the crime wave will dissipate soon. But we do need more police force. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Same question, Ashley.
So first off, I think that we have been put in this position because of our soft on crime that's coming down from California. For us as a city, I'm very passionate about public safety, and I think it's extremely important that we have a higher presence in areas, as spoken before by Floyd, that they have the capabilities of running reports and finding out where these crimes are increasing, and making sure that we have boots on the grounds and people with the presence of law enforcement in these areas that can help limit them to the best of our ability as a city. I also feel that it's extremely important, though, for civilians as well to be involved, in the sense where if they are seeing things that are out of the norm, or seeing things that are not red flags, that they are also reporting that to law enforcement and helping our law enforcement to be able to execute these areas and be a presence in them.
Thank you, Ashley. Same question, Eric.
I'm going to disagree with my colleagues for a little bit here. I don't think that we have a serious problem when it comes to crime in other cities. I do want to recognize that the current city council is doing a good job and working with the police department, keeping our communities as safe as they can. I do believe in our current labor force. I think they're doing an excellent job. When it comes to the smash and robberies, especially at Victoria Gardens, it's something that was happening originally. It happened in other parts more critical, more serious than it happened here. Here it happened once or twice, and I know it's alarming. I know when it happens, we're all shaken by it, but honestly, I still feel very safe going to Victoria Gardens and walking around. Should we increase police presence at Victoria Gardens? I would think so. I know we used to have a substation there, a sheriff's substation. I don't know if it's still there or not. Still there. So I know we have a substation there. Maybe increase actual deputies walking around Victoria Gardens. But in regards to that, I think that the city council and the police department are doing a good job of keeping us safe.
Thank you, Eric. And Lawrence.
I also have a different tack on it in that I've talked to my friends in law enforcement here in the city. Response rates haven't changed all that much. Yes, crime has gone up like it has everywhere. And they do have plans to add an officer or two in the future as development occurs. But I think what the real problem is that, we basically have a state law now that you catch them and then they're released. You catch them and they're released. Nobody does their full time anymore. So it gets pretty frustrating. One of the things I think the city could work on, though, and I think to help the morale of the deputies, is go to their briefings, go talk to them. Don't wait for something to happen. Let them know how much you appreciate what they're doing, because their morale is suffering. Their morale is suffering because they used to be able to do their job, and now under state law, it's very hard for them to do their job. But if you look at response times and arrests, the arrests are being done very quickly in this community, very quickly. So I'm proud of this force. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence. So the next question will begin on that end of the table. So Lawrence, you have the opportunity to respond first.
No, you catch my breath. Go ahead.
The state requires every city to build more housing of various types. The city meet these housing requirements while maintaining our quality of life.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
I'll repeat the question. The state requires every city to build more housing of various types, including affordable housing. How can the city meet these housing requirements while maintaining our quality of life?
The state law does not require the city to build housing. It requires the city to provide land uses that will allow that to happen by private development, but there's not a mandate for the city to actually build that housing, so I want to correct that. These requirements have been in place since the 1970s. And it's a trickle-down thing. The state comes up with a big number, they funnel it down, and it's all based on theoretical growth, which nobody has ever been able to meet. This city came pretty close in the 80s and 90s when it built Terra Vista and Victoria. But I just want to make everybody calm down a little bit about it's nothing new. It's something the city has done very good about planning for. Thank you.
And to clarify, I believe you're referring to the RENA numbers, so that's the Regional Housing Needs Assessment numbers.
Right, that's, yeah.
You are correct in your statement. Thank you, Lawrence. Next, Eric.
Okay, it's a very loaded question because at the end of the day, we're just talking about people. We're talking about the fact that we have not enough housing for all of us in California. The state is trying to do its best to try to find housing for everybody. Unfortunately, they pushed those mandates down to the cities, and now we have to figure out what to do with it. We have to really get creative when it comes to development. We got to make sure that we try to accommodate as many folks as we can in a smart way. There's certain neighborhoods that they don't have any room for development. In District 1 where we're at, there's really no room for development up there. Everything's pretty much built out. But it doesn't mean that we can't build something along Foothill where it would make more sense to build multi-unit housing because we have a corridor on Foothill and Haven and Archibald where we can have massive transit that can accommodate all this. We really have to find places for people to live, and we have to make it somewhat affordable. And let's be honest, Rancho is not an affordable city to live. So at the end of the day, we just need to find houses for people. That's really the challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Same question, Ashley.
I believe this is a huge challenge that we face as a city. One of my focuses is to making sure that we are also protecting and preserving the character of our city as we are developing new homes for people to live in. Making sure that we are, honoring the current buildings and structures that are there in their historic in nature, and really, as we're bringing in new, that we are still holding a piece of our old in that as well.
Thank you, Ashley. Now, Mary.
We got the state mandated building, and we have to zone for it, I think. When we build it is really up to us, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure. And anyway, so I think that we need to have places for people to live in the city, and I hope that they work in the city too, because they'll value those. The concern that I have with building, and especially high density building, is that I hope that people will respect when they build, or developers and things like that will respect what's existing there already, because people pay good money for those buildings. They pay for the nature and character of a place that they're at, and I hope that there will not be that much building in the foothills because of the fires, and that's how I feel about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Now, Rose, same question.
Well, I think that multiple family units might be a solution. We have a wonderful staff here in our city. There's a lot of creativity, and I'm sure they're not going to come up empty. But what concerns me further is, what about water usage? After you build these, where's the water coming from? We're already told to conserve. If I were governor, I would have started this conservation 5 years ago. Think about it.
Where are the schools, and where are the high schools, and where are all these people?
Thank you, and we asked the audience for
I
that.
know, I
Thank
just have to
you.
say that.
I did just get a reminder for those of you on the panel, if you could speak closer to the microphones, that would be helpful. So just a reminder there. Floyd, if you would finish out this question for us.
Okay, so the question really is a land use issue, not anything else. And I think we have to be clear about that so that people don't get in an uproar that it's something that has to happen overnight and it's something that we're imposing on people. That's not the case. The idea is that you can put more units per lot. There's a lot of things that you should consider. For example, all new structures now have to have fire sprinkler systems, not as years ago where they did not have to have that. Other issues that should be considered so that we can maintain the quality of life that we have now. And I think that can be done, in part because of the general plan that we just talked about before.
Thank you. So you each have the opportunity to provide a 1-minute closing statement, but I think we have additional time. Where'd the floor go? Yes, Robert's shaking his head. So give me just a moment, and we're going to offer
consideration. I do not know exactly all of the things that the city is currently doing to attract businesses, but what I've seen is that Rancho Cucamonga is a place that businesses want to do business. So when you talk about fees and different things like that, I am hoping that we'll maintain where we're at now, be fair and equitable, and create that environment where businesses are attracted to this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Floyd. Same question, Rose.
I've been coupled with the business community and the city staff, city fathers. We should be able to come up with some ideas.
Thank you, Rose. Mary, same question.
The answer is yes. We have water issues. We have electrical issues with the rolling blackouts. You can't do business in the dark. We have public safety issues where people are worried about going to business establishments because they'll get their catalytic converters cut off in the parking lot or their purses stolen in the grocery store. Whoever thought that grocery shopping would turn into a high-risk thing? We have to maintain the parks so that people will be willing to come here. When people are visiting here, they frequent the business establishments. We need to protect and improve the quality of life here so that everyone can grow and prosper, businesses and residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Ashley.
I think we need to take a step back on this question and also reflect on what attracts business. What attracts business is a thriving community. What attracts business is one that is a safe city. I feel that we as a city in Rancho Cucamonga are very strong in these areas, and I think that we are very proactive in continuing to build a thriving and a safe city. I think that businesses will come because of these features that our city offers. Business is, again, I said it earlier and I'll say it again, it is what keeps a city flourishing. So we need to making sure that we are a safe space for cities to flourish and grow.
Thank you, Ashley. Now, Eric.
The biggest capital that a business has is its people. And as a city, we have done a pretty good job of attracting businesses. But unfortunately, our region is nothing but warehouses and logistics. And if we want to attract those high-tech, high-paying jobs to the region, we have to invest in our labor force. We need to invest in our people. We're fortunate enough that we have a community college here in our city. If we work in close with Chaffey College and partner with the college, and also, we have University of Redlands, my alma mater, we have UCR, we have also a couple of community colleges down the road. If we partner with them and create the labor force necessary so we can attract those high technology, high paying jobs into the area, they're gonna come, trust me. If you talk to any business owners, I know their number one struggle is gonna be finding people and finding the right people, right? And that's something that you cannot develop overnight. This is something we have to invest. So for the future, we can bring those businesses, those technologies into our area, and we can help our people get those good paying jobs. Thank you.
And Lawrence.
I think that Rancho Cucamonga is a very good environment for new businesses. Never seem to have had trouble attracting new businesses. But I think we could do a little bit more for the existing businesses. And I say that in that we should look for opportunities to help them market their businesses to markets they maybe haven't been exposed to. We have a lot of travel ball teams and leagues coming to play on our fields on the weekends, and those people travel, sometimes great distances. Do we do anything with those leagues or those people to integrate them into what's available at Rancho Cucamonga in terms of goods and services? We have hotels, we have restaurants, we have takeout places, we have sporting goods places. So we have things that those sports teams use and need. And are we doing a good enough job of making sure they know about that? And maybe the city, community services department, and those leagues could bid or work with the business community to let them know that. And I would think we have opportunities like that everywhere in the community.
Thank you, Lawrence. And we'll conclude with one final question for the panel, just to mix it up. We'll start in the middle of the table with Ashley. So, A new hotel recently opened in the city, and another is under construction. Would you support the city's increasing the city's transient occupancy tax, and why?
Yes, I think that it's important because that is what goes into keeping the infrastructure of our cities. I definitely support the growth, but I think that that partnership also needs to contribute to the infrastructure being sustained as we continue to grow and welcome the growth of the community.
Thank you, Ashley. And we'll move this direction. So, Mary, if you could answer the same question, please.
No, I would not be adverse to collecting a tax. If the need is there, the need is there. You know, we have to learn to live within our means. And if that's the way that we can solve a problem, I'm sure that between all of us, we can in that manner. That's certainly one way of doing it. So yes, no, I would not be adverse to charging a tax like that. I think that that would be a good and useful thing too.
Thank you, Mary. Rose?
I would not be opposed. You know, we're living in difficult times and businesses have to do what they have to do to survive.
Floyd?
So if I understand the question correctly, I would need additional information in order to make that decision. We should only raise taxes when we absolutely have to. We should respect people that's trying to build. You say you want to attract businesses. Well, you don't attract them by adding more taxes to them. But again, just based on the question, again, additional information, and again, try to live within our means and need more information to answer better than that.
Thank you, Floyd. And then on the other end of the table, Lawrence, same question.
Thank you. Yes, I agree with Clark in the sense that you got to be careful about raising taxes. What is the occupancy rate? You know, what is the need for that revenue? And what are the other competitors outside this community? What are they paying and what are they collecting in terms of their occupancies? So you have to be very careful about talking about anything like that. And if you're going to do something like that, you also have to talk about phasing. How fast does it happen? And does the companies involved have time to appraise it and think about how they're going to phase that in and cover their costs? Thank you.
And finally, Eric.
If I understand correctly, the depends in taxes. The tax you get taxed when you book a room. So when you go to make a reservation like Expedia and whatever, and you get it for $200 a night, there's an extra local tax that's been put on that goes to the city. That's what the transit tax is. So only people that are booking a room are going to pay for that. Now, having said that, any extra social revenue is always good, right? But is that going to keep people from coming to the region? We have a international airport in Ontario, which is really close. Trust me, I'd rather go down to Ontario anytime instead of LAX. I've talked to some people in the business community and I asked them, how can we have more people coming to Ontario? We have a convention center in Ontario. We have a lot of world top facilities here in Rancho. We have a lot of hotels, and they say, well, there's not enough hotels. If we want to have a good size convention, we don't have the infrastructure. So I definitely wouldn't want to scare businesses away. I don't want to scare hotels away. So I would be hesitant on raising the transient tax, and even though it goes against some of my core values when it comes to taxation, but I just think we need more hotels so we can have more conventions and help the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And now we'll conclude with a 1-minute concluding remark from each of you, and we'll start with Mary and kind of head the same direction we just went. So, Mary.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a mother of 23 years, a wife of 29 years, a Rancho Cucamonga homeowner for 31 years, a businesswoman, successful business owner for 21 years, and a former appointed Rancho Cucamonga City Board trustee. I completed my term last July. If you believe I represent your values and you believe I can do this job well, please vote for me in the next election. My name is Mary Hanna and I'm City Council of District 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And closing remarks, Rose.
Yes, first of all, I have a lot of family members that are in law enforcement. My son-in-law his father. I have another son-in-law that retired just recently, and my late husband was in law enforcement, and as well as planning and zoning business. And I have a legal background. I started out as a legal secretary, and when I moved to Los Angeles to work, I became a couple firms administrator, and I decided I hated the commute, so I came back to this area. And I am also a wife and a mother, 4 children, and I have 6 grandchildren we're very proud of.
Thank you, Royce. Floyd.
So in my closing statement, I would just like you to know that I've lived long enough and been through enough that I figured out what my gifts are. I've spent 38 years in public safety, and I work tirelessly to ensure that not only you're able to get into this building safely, but you're able to get out. We have both man-made and natural disasters, and we're going to have those things. This community will survive and be better in the future if we can create a more resilient community. I plan to work hard to do that given this opportunity, and therefore I'm asking you to vote for Floyd Clark, District 1.
Thank you, Floyd. And Lawrence on the other end of the table.
Yes, thank you. A couple things that we did not touch on tonight that I just want to bring out is that state mandates have created an erosion to home rule in our community. That's led to increased crime. It's also undermined the zoning and land use planning values that we've had traditionally. And we've got to get some pushback with the state on that, because we should be able to determine what things look like and where they're actually situated. The other thing is funding inequities on the west side of the city. The district plan has responsibility for 2 out of the 3 community parks and an incomplete trail system. District 1 has greater responsibility for city amenities, but not the financial resources to maintain them. We've got to work on that. We've got to have a discussion about it, because the volunteers can't do everything in that area, which they're doing right now, trying to do. So I just wanted to raise those items. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence. And Eric.
Well, I want to start by thanking all of you guys for coming out tonight. Thank you for making the time and coming and listening to us. And I just want to humbly ask you for your vote. I am a long-time resident of the city. I'm coming to you guys really as a father, as a citizen, as a fellow business owner, asking you guys to please consider me for City Council District 1. There's very specific needs to District 1 that I'm willing to address. Some are very regional to our pocket of the city, but also to the issues that are to the city. I want to be one of the 5 votes on the City Council that's going to make sure that we vote and we take the city, that we continue to take the city in the right direction that it's going. I think we should be very proud of our city, and whoever gets to the City Council should be someone who's going to go and willing to contribute and keep moving the city forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And finally, Ashley.
First, I would like to thank you all for coming out and hearing all of our hearts regarding our city. You know, we do live in an amazing city. We live in a beautiful city in many different aspects. Is it beautiful? For me, it's really wanting to protect and preserve what leaders before us have really invested themselves in building here as a world-class city. It's so important that we continue to move in that direction, and it would be a complete honor to serve as a council member and serve my community.
Can we thank all of our District 1 candidates? Mayor Michael, I'd like to welcome you to the stage. If you could take a seat.
Where do I go?
Right up to the front.
Since everyone else is sitting, I guess I will do the same.
So I'd like to welcome Mayor Dennis Michael, who is obviously the incumbent, and Mayor Michael, you're welcome.
You know, first of all, I thank you all for being here, because this is a very important election. And I'll start with saying something that's very near and dear to my heart, and that is in District 1, a very dear friend and colleague of mine, recently, in May 2nd, passed away, and that was Sam Spagnolo. So we as a city council decided shortly thereafter that we would not appoint anyone to the vacancy, that we would let the voters make a decision. And so,
You want to pull the mic closer? I think you'll be better.
So at that point, it's very important to me as the mayor of the city, and just as a background, when people talk about their life in Rancho Cucamonga and how many years, I care deeply about this city. I always have my entire life. I spent my whole career in the fire department, 19 years as the city's fire chief, and I was elected to city council in 2004 after my retirement, and in 2010 as the mayor for the city. And I am so thankful and so humbled by the fact for 5 elections, this will be my 6th, that this time no one ran against me, which is kind of exciting in one way, and yet, so I think there's 2 things I hate doing: running for election and raising money. But I love this city deeply. It's in the bones of my life. I was raised on a citrus ranch back in the day. Would I still love to see citrus ranches and vineyards? But that's just not possible. Our city council truly is blessed to have a great team of city staff, a great team of council members that work together for the common good of this community, a city council that, even though we went to districts, and I'm not necessarily a fan of districts, but we know that's the realities today. But our hope is, with our mission statement and our vision statement, and I hope you've all taken a look at that on our website, that we continue to address not what's most important for one region of our city or the other, but in the final decision, what is in the best interest of the quality of life for every single resident, no matter where they live. We have significant challenges in this city, as every city does, but I can tell you, from the bottom of my heart, there is a reason why we were selected by the National Civic League in 2020 as an All-America City. There is a reason why, just recently, Wallet Hub said, we are the #1 city in the Inland Empire to raise a family. And do I take credit for that? No. I take credit for all of us working together to make those kinds of significant achievements in our city. Do we have problems with crime? Yes. Does that need to be, can that be fixed at the local level? No. We need to go to the state of California. And us as voters, we as voters elected to approve Prop 47 and Prop 57, which now is causing all these grab and go crimes, because by the time they go get booked into the jail by the afternoon, they're back on the street doing the same thing again. So it's our city. I will say this, as a public safety professional, the best decision this city ever made, in my opinion, we were a fire district separate from the city. In 1988, I convinced our independent board to become part of the city, because that's what we needed to be for long-term viability and financial welfare. The city, when we were incorporated in 1977, chose to use the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department as a contract for our police services. And I can tell you, there is not a city around here that I know of that doesn't have better policing services. And can we do better? Yes. And do we strive to do better? Absolutely. But I am so fortunate to still be a part of the city for another 4 years. I thank you, and I just cherish not only all of you being here, because this election is very important. You're going to be selecting another 2 people on the city council, we need to keep this city moving forward and continuing to achieve things that we never thought before were possible. And I will say the one last thing. I have never worked in this city in my entire career, whether it was on the other side of the dais addressing city council and looking at the staff, that what we have today, from our city manager all the way down to the bottom levels of the organization, everybody is pulling together as a team. And as a city council, I don't consider us necessarily any different. We are Team RC, and it starts with the city council giving direction, giving guidance, listening to our staff on decision-making issues, having dialogue, and thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm sorry I wasn't here earlier to hear all of the presentations, but thank you, and God bless you, each and every one of you. Thank you.
And now we will, our final candidate will be from State Assembly, and I believe we have Sheila Stark in the room. Sheila, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Yes, good. And Eloise Reyes Gomez, I believe, is not going to make it. Maybe. She's on her way. Do we have an ETA? 15 minutes. Okay, so should we begin with Sheila and then hear from Eloise when she arrives? Is that acceptable? I'm hearing yeses. Okay, let's do that. Sheila, come on up. Can we welcome Sheila in the front? So even if we do one after the other, I will ask you the same questions, and assuming that Eloise arrives on time, we will ask her the same questions when she arrives as well. So Sheila, if you could begin with a 1-minute opening statement, that would be terrific.
Hello everyone, good evening. I'm Sheila Stark. I'm running for State Assembly in District 50, which includes Rancho Cucamonga, Etiwanda, Fontana, Rialto, Bloomington, and Colton, and all the way through Western Redlands, so Loma Linda is included in there as well. I'm running against the Assembly Leader, Eloise Gomez Reyes. The reason I am running is because I'm not happy with what's going on in the state of California. I had to stop being on the sidelines and just complaining and complaining. I knew that I had to do something. I am an attorney, I run my own practice. I was a professor here at JV College for 7 years. I work with special needs families. And I also ran a $500 million nonprofit called Inland Regional Center, if some of you are familiar with it. It was where the December 2nd shooting happened. I was supposed to be there that day, and thankfully I was not. So there's a lot of things happening in our state, and that's the reason I'm running.
Thank you, Sheila. So your first question. California is often accused of being a difficult state to do business in, or being hostile toward employers. Is that a fair critique? And if so, how could that be changed?
It is a fair critique. As a business owner myself, we barely survived the pandemic. A lot of my colleagues did not. A lot of my friends who owned other businesses other than law firms did not. I had friends and family that actually closed their restaurants down, closed their small little businesses down, and their lifelong dreams were completely shattered because of the regulations and policies that were brought down by Sacramento. Now also, we have things being passed in Sacramento such as AB 5, where it's something where they're trying to take they've already passed it, independent workers, contractors, and they're trying to make them employees of businesses. Sacramento is trying to regulate business, and it's wrong. We even have people trying to regulate the logistics industry, and we are the logistics capital of the entire United States. The Port of Los Angeles goes through us. Everything comes through us to get to the rest of the country. And we have people that are trying to change that. They are trying to regulate business. They're trying to take our power away and give it to Sacramento, and that's not okay. And yes, it is a negative state to do business. We have Tesla leaving, we have big corporations leaving, and this is what's happening. People are looking at our state and saying, hey, you are not pro-business, we are going to leave. They are going to other states, giving them the tax revenue, giving them all of that funds that we could use. Even though we are the highest tax nation in the United States, highest tax state in the nation. And it's unfortunate because there are so many more opportunities that we could have had if we had more, actually less regulation and more business opportunities. Developers are leaving, businesses are leaving, and we even have friends and family that are leaving because they're saying, hey, we can't afford to live in this state. Jobs are going away, everything's going away. We have to move out in order to have a standard of living. And that's not okay. Quality of life is going down.
Thank you, Sheila. Next question. In 2014, California voters passed Proposition 47, converting many drug felonies and property crimes valued at $950 or less to misdemeanors. Statistics seem to illustrate that these changes have resulted in increased crimes. Do you agree, and what do you think needs to be changed?
Absolutely, Prop 47 needs to be repealed, and we need to do it sooner than later. The problem is our state is becoming soft on crime, and because, well, we have the 3 strikes law. Okay, so the history of it, the 3 strikes law, we put people away for very small reasons. Okay, the problem is Sacramento swung the pendulum the other way with Prop 47, and now it became a free-for-all. Now people are going into these small businesses, which is another reason small businesses are leaving. They're doing this like grab and run, and they're not going to get anything other than the slap on the wrist, even if they get that. Police officers' hands are tied, district attorneys' hands are tied. Crime rates are soaring in California, so I know people think that they're not, but they absolutely are. Our crime rates are soaring, our homelessness is out of control. The reason homelessness is out of control, we have the highest homeless rate in the United States. We have a lot of problems in our state. We have a lot of problems with issues in our entire district. Crime rates are going up, not just anywhere, but in Rancho Cucamonga. I grew up in Rancho. I am a Rancho girl. I went through all of my entire public schooling system here. This used to be a city and a town where you could leave your bike out in the front, you could leave your door unlocked. I'm not saying it's going to forever be that way, but now we have to worry, hey, can I really go out late at night to go to CVS? Because the last time I went there, I saw someone just grab a bunch of things and run out. And the employees just had to stand there and do nothing. And this was right here on Deep Creek. That's not okay.
Thank you. Next question. The minimum wage in California has increased from $10 an hour in 2016 to currently $15. Do you suggest or do you support further increases, and why?
Minimum wage is an interesting issue. Now, in Seattle, they did this within the city. They increased the minimum wage, and what they found is that employees actually lost income. Why? Because employers reduced hours, and they also changed the status of some employees from full-time to part-time. Now, I know that's happening here in California, so now you're increasing minimum wage, so the increase goes to the employers. And now, so employers are going to have to pay more, so what do? They cut back hours, and also now it's going to eat into, now it's going to be customers that are going to be footing the bill. Now, in some sense, you might think it's okay. Well, yes, everybody needs to have a standard of living, but why don't we fix everything else that's going on instead of just putting the bill on the consumer? Because now you're increasing minimum wage to $15 and you're not fixing the issues. Why do we need to raise it? Because our standard of living is so costly. Our housing is crazy expensive. Businesses are leaving, jobs are leaving. We have people, Rancho is a commuting city. We have tons of people, the entire Inland Empire. We have tons of people commuting from here to Los Angeles because that's where the jobs are. We need to bring businesses here. We need to have logistics centers here. We need to be in control of that and be the powerful logistics capital of the entire United States. Bring jobs here so people can actually have a standard of living. If they don't have to pay $7 a gallon in gas to commute to Los Angeles, they can spend that money here and have a better standard of living and quality of life.
Thank you. You just mentioned gas prices. Next question is about just that. Gas is more than $6 a gallon, give or take, which is approximately $2.50 higher than the national average. Why is that, and what can be done to address that?
Well, California is the most heavily taxed state in the nation. Okay, so what recently the Republicans in Sacramento, they tried to pass a bill, I forgot the exact number, but I do have it. It was AB something where the assembly people, they were trying to pass a pause in the gas tax that would have reduced our gas significantly. They were trying to do that because we already had a $100 billion surplus. A surplus means that we have met every need in our state, and then we have additional funds. That $100 billion, it was like $97 billion, but rounding up to $100 billion, that's not money that just appeared out of nowhere. That was your tax dollars. That's the reason they have that kind of surplus, because we are being taxed everywhere. We have gas tax, sales tax, property taxes. We are taxed everywhere. And that money is going, where is it going? Education is our highest expenditure in our state, but yet we rank 48th place. Why? Because our school systems are not focusing on STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. Those are the kinds of things that our school system, especially little girls, females need to be focusing on so we can push them forward and have boys and girls go into these fields. But yet we're focusing on social justice issues And that's perfectly fine, you can do that. But you can do that at an appropriate age, not at an age where it starts at 5 years old and up. Newsom passed a law 2 years ago giving sex education to children at 5 years old. It's not okay in the public school system. We have a lot of issues. We are heavily taxed. Those tax dollars, they're not being accounted for. We need transparency. We need to know where that money is going. You want to tax us? Fine. We live in this great state. I don't want to leave. We have so many people we know that are leaving. I don't want to leave. I want to fix what's going on here.
Thank you. And one final question for you. San Bernardino County supervisors recently put a measure on the ballot to study secession from the state, claiming that the county does not get its fair share of state resources. What would you tell voters who feel disenfranchised by the state?
Well, it's interesting because the reason they actually pass this bill is not actually to secede. It makes a great headline, right? It makes a great headline, a great news story. But the reason is because we pay an exorbitant amount of fees and taxes to the state, well, we get back about less than 40% of that. So the statistics are very alarming. So we need to find out where is our money going? Why are we not getting this back? We have someone else that I am running against, the incumbent in our area. She promised a lot. For 2 years, she's been the assembly leader. She promised a lot. She promised that she would bring more to our area, but we're only getting 40% of what we're sending out. We are the largest county in the state, and we have 40% of people here in our county, in our area, are living 209% below the poverty line. That's not okay. We need to do something about it. The people that have been in charge for this long have created this situation. There's been a supermajority of Democrats for the last 20 years. The reason California has these high taxes, has high gas prices, has housing that is unbelievably high and unaffordable is because we've had one party in charge for 20 years. Statistically speaking, whether you talk federally or state, when you have a mix, when you have equal opportunity to discuss and come to a bipartisan realization of what we need to do, that is the most best way, and the economy flourishes. It doesn't matter which way is which. We need to have more involvement. We can't have one party rule. We need to go out there and we need to bring more resources to our county. And these measures that's what it's for, is to show us and give us transparency and tell the state, tell Sacramento, hey, give us the reasons, show us what's going on, show us the statistics. Because the person that was in charge here, who I'm running against, hasn't done that for us. She has failed in that manner. She continued to try to give our power to Sacramento instead of allowing us as constituents to be in charge here.
Thank you, Sheila. And so now if you'd like to take 1 minute and make any final comments.
Yes. So, I was also a professor for 7 years at JV College. I was a night student. I taught at night. I was the attorney advisor there for the pre-law and paralegal program. As a professor, I saw how hard students worked in this area. And yes, we do have technology. We do have business programs. I was part of that department. We need more trades in this area. We need to become manufacturers again. We need to be able to produce in our area again. And we have it here, and we need to bring more and more people here. My dad retired as a COO in a Fortune 1000 company. He started off as a pizza boy, okay? So he's taught me how to work. And that's who I am. I work hard. I've been working hard for a decade now as an attorney, 7 years as a professor, 5 years in charge of the Inland Regional Center with $500 million. We took that place and we made it into an amazing location where it went from a hostile work environment to a top 10 place to work in the IE. We need to do that with all kinds of things, all kinds of departments here, and we really need to bring more businesses in. Thank you so much.
I think you were coming from our sister city from Fontana, is that right?
But I'm here.
Good. Glad you made it. So if you'd like to begin with a 1 minute opening statement, that would be great. And then I have 5 questions for you, and then you can make a 1 minute closing statement after that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for the invitation to be here. I think this is a wonderful thing to be able to hear from candidates before you vote for us. To know, in my case, what I have done for the other cities that I've represented and what I hope to do for the city of Rancho Cucamonga. Since arriving in the State Assembly 6 years ago, I have been able to take leadership roles. As was mentioned earlier, I am now the Assembly Majority Leader. And with that comes lots of responsibilities, but also lots of additional benefits that I get, the additional conversations with our budget chair, with the speaker, with the Senate representatives, to be able to bring those benefits back to our community, which is exactly what I've done.
Thank you. So first question. California is often accused of being a difficult state to do business in or being hostile toward employers. Is that a fair critique? And if so, how could that be changed?
From some of my business, it's a fair critique. I've spent a lot of time with talking to our small businesses, trying to find out what they need to make it easier for them to have a business. I am a business owner. I've had my small business, my law office, for many years, for almost 3 decades. I know what it is to keep payroll, to make payroll, and to take care of everything else that we need to do. But I've also heard from many of our businesses that have succeeded. They, in spite of the pandemic, in spite of everything that they've had to deal with, they've been extremely successful. And I'm very proud of that. Now, during the COVID, we did spend a lot of time with seminars, with town hall meetings, bringing in speakers to make sure that our small businesses knew that there were options for them. Small Business Administration, the insurance commissioner, whoever it is that they told me they needed to hear from in order to keep their business going. Not all of our businesses succeeded. Many of our businesses had to shut down. Statistics throughout the U.S. show, especially our restaurants, many of them closed. We've worked with many of them to see what they need to reopen. Some of them have told me there is no way I can reopen. Others have been successful and have reinvented themselves to try to find a different way to serve the community. We've learned a whole lot during this pandemic, and I'm really proud of the businesses, especially those who have reached out, because it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been. To make payroll and to make sure that they take care of their employees, and with the rules that we have put on them to take care of their employees, but we've also provided additional benefits for COVID relief to many of our small businesses.
Thank you. Next question. In 2014, California voters passed Proposition 47, converting many drug felonies and property crimes valued at $950 or less to misdemeanors. Statistics seem to illustrate that these changes have resulted in increased crimes. Do you agree? And what do you think could be changed?
Depends on who I'm talking to. For some, especially our legal aid, they were able to provide expungements for many of those who had those misdemeanor crimes. They were then, with a cleaner record, they were able to get employment. But for some of our businesses, it has now, the pendulum swung all the way a different way. And then we now had to deal with smash and grab. And last year, I'm very proud of the fact that we put in $300 million, I believe is the amount, $300 million to go to law enforcement to assist with the smash and grabs. Last year, in addition to that, we also did another $30 million, I believe, to provide for our the district attorney's offices to help them prosecute in those crimes. So there was some good from Proposition 47, and that was the expungement for those who had that criminal record. But as happens in many times when we do change the law, the pendulum does swing a different way, and we had to deal with that. And the additional funds was something that had to be provided, and it was.
Great, next question. The minimum wage in California has increased from $10 an hour in 2016 to currently $15 an hour. Do you support further increases, and why?
We have to have a livable wage for people. And I know that when I say that to my small business owners, they say, Eloise, every time you say that, that means we have to charge more. And my response is always, but you do want your employees to have a livable wage. If that means that that hamburger is now going to cost a few cents more, I'm willing to pay for it, so that that employee does have a livable wage. We have to find the balance in just about everything that we do. And that is one of those areas. Now, for my friends who own restaurants who are the hardest hit, they've told me that this has been a really big problem. Not just the increase in the minimum wage, but also the fact that the government has continued to provide benefit after benefit after benefit, and they're not able to find employees. Well, I'm hoping that, again, the pendulum's got to swing back to the center, and we're going to be able to have those employees ready to work. But I do know that it has been a problem. But raising the minimum wage to 15, I think, was appropriate. It was a big fight. It was. And we have to find ways, just because we provide the increase in the minimum wage, that provides more of a livable wage for workers. And the best thing for employers is to have workers who are happy because they can pay their bills without having to ask for assistance. It doesn't do us any good if we have employees who now have to go to the government to get assistance because they're not being paid enough. So I think if we find that balance, I'm not sure that we have found the balance, but I think it is important that we look for that balance. Part of that does include having livable wages for our employees.
Thank you. You just mentioned rising costs, and one of the areas I think all of us are feeling it is at the pump. So regarding gas is more than $6 a gallon now, which is approximately fortunately not 200, $2.50 higher than the national average. Why is that, and what can be done to address that?
I remember when we were talking about the increase, I think it was in July, and people were saying, you know, do a freeze on the increase at the pump. Well, it was only going to be a 3-cent increase at that time. And rather than do the 3-cent do away with the 3-cent increase, instead, most of us who have filed our tax returns will receive a stimulus check. Those should be going out soon. The fact that we now are paying over $6, I couldn't believe that it was up to $6 and above $6 in some areas. It isn't just California. California isn't the only state that has gas over $6, but it is something that it affects all of us. It affects every single one of us, but it affects those who can least afford to pay that $6+. And the problem with when we were talking about doing the gas tax holiday, as they were asking for, is that not everybody drives a car. They may be taking a bus, but inflation was also affecting us. So if it isn't at the gas pump, it's also going to affect you when you buy your groceries. And that was the big reason why it was a stimulus check as opposed to a holiday on the increase of the gas tax at that point. We do need to do more. I do know that we've all heard the headlines. The governor has now talked about if the oil companies, if there is price gouging, it needs to be investigated. And if it's found that that is true, then we have to address that. We addressed it during COVID for those who were price gouging with toilet paper even. If it's happening with the oil industry, that does need to be addressed.
And a final question for you. San Bernardino County supervisors put a measure on the ballot to study secession from the state, claiming that the county does not get its fair share of state resources. What would you tell voters who feel disenfranchised by the state?
Well, can I tell you about my record? Over $500 million have been brought in because of my direct effort here to my district. In addition to that, we have provided just family fees, just as an example. We were successful in putting $187 million into the state's budget to make sure that those who have subsidized child care, that they don't have to pay their family fees. It was $187 million that was put into that. We also worked with the state to make sure that our food banks had additional money to the tune of $200 million. And of course, our food bank in San Bernardino County was one of the recipients of that. Those are statewide. But in addition to that, I'm very proud that Colton, for instance, now received $18 million for a sports complex that they've been working on for 2 decades. They had their plans together, but couldn't find the funding to take care of that. On Mount Vernon, the bridge that was so old needed the last $13 million so that we could tear it down and rebuild it. That was in my second year we were able to get that $13 million. There are a number of things. I just came from an event where I was being recognized for bringing $1 million to Rialto for a healing garden. These are things that I didn't just think these up and think, oh, what would be good? Let me think. I think I'll ask for money for this particular project. When I started as an assembly member, we reached out to all of our cities and to the county. And we said, one of the things, besides laws that we introduce, we also get to bring back money to our community. Tell me about your needs. And it's because of those requests from the school districts, from our cities, that we were then able to present these. Not everyone was accepted, of course, but we were very successful over my tenure in the Assembly.
That concludes our questions for you, but if you now would like to make final statements, that would be terrific.
Well, I have represented a number of communities for the last 6 years as the Assembly member. And I was very pleased to see that Rancho Cucamonga is now part of my district. And I would be absolutely honored to earn your vote to be your next Assembly member here for the city of Rancho Cucamonga, so that you can join the other communities that I believe have been very successful under my tenure. The cities of Colton, the unincorporated area of Bloomington, San Bernardino. Now I'll have Loma Linda and Redlands and Rancho Cucamonga, and I'm very proud of those additions to my district. And I hope that you will, when you see Eloise Reyes on your ballot, I hope to have earned your vote. Thank you.
Can we thank the Senator?